Welcome back to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. My name is Derek Brown. In today's video, we're going to discuss 5 quarterbacks in Dynasty Fantasy Football that you need to be trading for and you need to believe in over the next 2 to 3 seasons. Let's get to all these players because we got a lot of quarterbacks to talk about and a lot of reasons to believe in them. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. So let's jump in this, people. Matthew Stafford, first quarterback we got to talk about, coming in as the QB 29 in Dynasty right now. And I understand the trepidation. I get why he's so low in Dynasty rank because we don't know how many more years Matthew Stafford is going to play. Okay. There's been rumors. It hasn't been happened yet, but there's been rumors and talk about Stafford getting extended by the Rams. We think it's all going to happen. So depending on what that extension looks like, 2-3 more seasons. The Rams look like a rejuvenated offense, team, roster, Super Bowl contender? Maybe. That could keep Stafford around for the next 2 to 3 seasons. And now you add in Davante Adams into this offensive equation. We still have Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua leading the way. Tyler Higbee going to be healthy. Maybe the Rams add more firepower in the draft. This is an explosive offense. And what did we see out of Stafford last year? Just in the span where Puka Nacua was healthy before his game tailed off, and I'm not going to say that it didn't, but his game tailed off at the final 3 weeks of last year's regular season. Before that, with Puka Nacua back in the lineup, Stafford was cooking, baby. Like weeks 8 through 14 with Nacua back. QB 11 in fantasy points per game. He was top 12 in yards per attempt, passer rating, highly accurate throw rate. All these different efficiency metrics and the fantasy production following suit, producing like a top 12 fantasy quarterback. Okay. Can Stafford keep doing that? If Puka Nacua is there, if Davante Adams is there for the next 2 seasons, yes, he absolutely can. And for a quarterback that's being left languishing in past QB2 land, QB3 land in Dynasty, it's simply too low. He's a wonderful sleeper, and he could return top 15, possibly QB1 production for the next 2 seasons. And if he does, you're going to be happy that you traded for him. All right, so the next quarterback we got to discuss here, and I know I'm slowly going up the Dynasty rankings, and he's low. QB 27 in Dynasty rankings, Justin Fields. And I know immediately, as soon as people hear the name, they're going to say, I'm out, or I'm in. It's polar opposites as far as what opinions are on Justin Fields. Just bringing up the name. Before I even give you any numbers, anything else, there's going to be people that are saying, nah, I'm not with it. And that's fine. I get it. Because we've seen Justin Fields play really well. We've also seen him play extremely bad. But the fantasy production, because of the rushing equity that he gives with his legs, the production is always there in fantasy, and that's what we're talking about here. And the contract that the New York Jets gave him for 2 years of really good money, he's going to be the Jets starter for the next 2 years. Whether it's feast or famine, and I think it's going to be feast. If you look at what Fields has done over the last 3 years during his starting opportunities, QB 7, QB 9, QB 5 in fantasy points per game. Last year, 6 starts. He eclipsed 19.4 or more fantasy points in 3 of those games. Amongst 41 qualifying quarterbacks, this man was top 13 in highly accurate throw rate, the lowest off-target throw rate, 13th lowest, by the way, and he was 4th in fantasy points per dropback. So let's separate the NFL and the fantasy stuff for a second when we're discussing Fields. He has been awesome. Unequivocally, you cannot divide those two. He has been awesome in fantasy. Now, I understand real-life quarterbacking play, something to be left desired. If he takes another step forward, maybe he's their answer for longer than just 2 seasons. But we are getting a 2-year window, and in that window, considering what Fields has already done and what he's probably going to do, continue running with New York, he's going to be a QB1 over the next 2 seasons. All right, before we get to the top 3 quarterbacks in this video, we have got to have a conversation about the Fantasy Pros Trade Analyzer. This thing is awesome. It helps you to evaluate trades with confidence, instantly seeing the impact of the trades on your team and get expert recommendations. Whether you're making 2-for-1 deals or you're swapping a couple of draft picks for that stud who's going to help you win right now, the Trade Analyzer will help you optimize your roster and make smarter decisions. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So try the Trade Analyzer today at fantasypros.com/myplaybook and dominate your Dynasty League. All right, breaking into the top 3 quarterbacks that we're going to discuss here. First guy I got to talk about, J.J. McCarthy. Coming in at QB 19 in Dynasty rankings over on fantasypros.com. People, this is too low. This is too low. J.J. is still catching shade that he does not deserve. We all saw Sam Darnold go out and post a QB 9 fantasy points per game finish last year, right? Like, y'all didn't miss that, right? We saw that. You do still realize that Justin Jefferson is there. T.J. Hockenson. The running back backfield. They solidified that this offseason. Jordan Addison. Good stuff, right? KOC is still there calling the plays. Offensive line is solid. They've done nothing but fortify this offense and fortify this team this offseason. And yet, J.J. McCarthy is languishing as a low-end QB2 in Dynasty. I'm not having it, people. Not having it. For a prospect coming out of Michigan, that let's all be kind of rewind and remind ourselves here. He was 10th in passing grade, 4th in adjusted completion rate, 11th in yards per attempt, top 5 in both adjusted completion rates on deep balls and versus pressure. What's not to like? And you just saw what Sam Darnold did in this offensive system with these skill players. And yet, people don't love J.J. McCarthy enough. I've had it. I've had it up to my eyeballs. I'm done with it. Stop the J.J. slander. Get him on your dynasty teams and enjoy the fact that he will be a QB1 this upcoming season in 2025 and a wonderful trade target that you will be laughing to the bank for the next 2 to 3 years in all of your dynasty leagues. All right, last 2 quarterbacks we got to discuss here. Baker Mayfield coming in at QB 15 in Dynasty. Again, the disrespect, people. Baker's got 2 years of good money left on his contract, so the certainty is there. He's going to be in Tampa Bay. You still got Mike Evans. You still got Cade Otton. And they brought back Chris Godwin. So while I'm not going to tell you that I think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy in 2025, can you tell me that he won't be a QB1 when we're valuing him outside of the top 12 dynasty quarterbacks? Come on. Seriously. For a quarterback that, again, talking about his fantasy finish last year, the weapons that are still around him, the offensive system, all good things. And he was 4th in adjusted completion rate and yards per attempt last year with Chris Godwin gone. Cade Otton thrust into a bigger role. Mike Evans banged up here or there. And Baker Mayfield still got it done, people. Put some respect on his name. Bump him up the list and get him on your teams. Well, we might as well just keep the disrespect train rolling, people. We talked about Baker, talked about JJ. Let's talk about the other guy that's on this list, Brock Purdy. Everybody loves to toss shade at Brock Purdy. What he can't do, it's the offensive system, the things that are allowed for him in that offensive system. At the end of the day, do you care when he's putting up fantasy points and he's producing as a top 12 quarterback in fantasy? Over the last 2 years, that's what he's done. Even last year, when he had a down year, QB 10 in fantasy points per game, 2nd in yards per attempt, 8th in fantasy points per dropback. So while we can talk about his skill set, how he is as a player, Kyle Shanahan helping or not helping, all those things, at the end of the day, you care about, I care about, we all care about, if you're watching this video, fantasy points and them being scored. Cut through all of the narratives, people. Brock Purdy does that. He scores fantasy points at an awesome clip in this offense. What are we talking about for 2025 and moving forward? This team is kind of reshuffling the deck, okay? George Kittle's still there. Juwan Jennings, CMC, Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk. What do we get out of him this year? Left to be determined. And this defense is going to take a step back. Okay. So could Brock Purdy throw the ball a bit more? Could the 49ers be forced to put the ball in his hands and throw the ball more this year? We get the volume bump. He still has a great cast of skill guys around him to do what he's been doing over the last 2 years, which is score fantasy points. With all this being said, every quarterback that I mentioned on this list, all of them outside the top 12 in dynasty quarterbacks, so they are attainable in trades. You can get them on your team, and they are outproducing or could outproduce the expectations in rankings over the next 2 to 3 seasons. It can happen, and this will all benefit all of your dynasty teams. All right, everyone, before I get up out of here, again, head to fantasypros.com/myplaybook and use the trade analyzer. Trade for these quarterbacks, get them on your teams, and enjoy all the wins in Dynasty in fantasy football for 2025 and moving forward. I'll see you next time.